All right, so this is what we were talking about before, talking about some new stuff. Now, I'm not showing you everything that is going to be new stuff in an upcoming version of Moto. I just want to show you a few little things. But this, as you can see, is a beta version of Moto. And I've been really excited about the new features that we've been adding, and I finally got approval to show off some of those things. And you guys will be able to play with this stuff soon-ish, kinda. We're not going to commit to any sort of date, but it's awesome. And I'm sure people are going to freeze frame this and look at everything in the interface. This is Farfare's standard. This is a kit. I just want to clarify this is not something that's incorporated. It's Farfare's Vertex Normal Toolkit, and it's a plugin. And same with the Baking UI, it's a plugin. But if you'll notice right up here, we have this handy dandy new game layout. How awesome is that? And we're going to switch on over to our game layout. If you notice, the game layout has a completely new organization. You'll notice that we have this one single viewport here, but on the bottom we have these various palettes, and so you can actually switch between different tool palettes, like my modeling, my sculpting, scene setup stuff right here through these toggles at the bottom. Really cool UI refinement, and also game tools. Ooh, I'm not going to get into this. We'll get into this in a later one. But look at that, export settings. All sorts of export settings. Engine. Oh wow, Unreal 4 and Unity export for both of those engines specifically. Baking. Baking refinements, we're going to talk about that in a later one as well, and vertex map. Here is the actual implementation of Farfare's kit, but inside of Moto natively. How awesome is that? All right, so what we really want to show you in this, there's a lot more to show you, so I just want to show you some of the viewport enhancements really, because it's really important to be able to see what you're working on in your DCC application. Moto is a DCC application with the correct settings, so it's the same as a game engine that you're working in, and we worked really hard to make that happen. So as of 9.01, we added our new advanced viewport, right? And this is the default viewport. This is the older viewport, and as you can see, it does a fine job of showing your geometry. Been using it for years, but the new advanced viewport is just simply awesome. And let's go ahead and switch on over to the advanced viewport. And okay, this is fine, right? It's maybe not all that striking, but that's because we have everything turned off. We've added new features to the advanced viewport, and let's articulate some of those. So first off, I am going to hop on over into my lights underneath this IBL environment. I have some basic lights in place, and I'm going to throw my radiance all the way down to 0, right? And it's like, okay, well that kind of sucks, right? We have no light in our scene at all anymore. But I also want to come on over here, and I want to turn on some other settings. I want to change my lighting to scene, and I also want my background to be environment. Now, okay, what happened? Did I just break it? No, I didn't break it. I had to set everything up correctly ahead of time. So let me go ahead and throw my environment intensity all the way up. If you remember, I turned my light intensity all the way down. And so right now, the environment is the only thing lighting the scene. So we have image-based lighting inside Moto's viewport, and it's awesomely, crazily fast. Now, I also used an environment material here for a gradient in the background, and let's go ahead and turn that off and switch on over to an actual, environment HDR image. And there you go. So now that is being entirely lit with, HDR, which is absolutely beautifully, incredibly awesome. All right, so we also want to make sure we turn our normal map on. All right, so nothing is happening yet. Reason for that, I've turned off normal maps, and there's the normal map that I baked inside of Moto using the rounded edge shader. You can see how pretty that is. And down here we have some new toggles on how to break apart your viewport. So I'm going to throw open our preview window, and let's go ahead and launch a render. And so take a look at that side by side. I mean, it's incredibly good. I mean, you can really tell what's going on in your scene just inside the viewport itself because of image-based lighting. Now, we want to have our light back because, in this scene we should have a direct light and an HDR. So let's go ahead and throw that back on up to around 2. And now we'll actually have our direct light in there as well. You can see again how closely these two correspond. Now let's go ahead and turn on a few other options, like let's show shadows, and let's use bump maps. There's no bump maps on here yet, but you can see again The shadows really bring us incredibly closer, but currently we are only dealing with a clay shaded model, right? And we definitely want to do something a little bit more complex than that, or at least I want to do something way more complex than that. So let's come on over into our shader tree, and I've got a material here. As you can see, I've got a normal, and I've turned off the material that's associated with our bake object. So I'm going to expand this. Check that out. Moto's got an Unreal material. How awesome is that? And so I can go ahead and throw on my Unreal material and turn on the whole material itself. And isn't that pretty crazy? Moto's renderer will actually render the Unreal material. And let's go ahead and throw on a couple of the actual layers. See, I've got Unreal base color. And so this means Moto now has a metalness workflow that also works in the render viewport. And so let me go ahead and start toggling these on one by one. These are just separate 4096 maps, and I just want to do it one by one to really show you how each one impacts the final shading of an object. And go ahead and throw on our metallic. And let's also throw on our bump, because I really want to have that bump in place. And then finally, even though it's not at the top, ambient occlusion, because Unreal does have that as a channel, and it has a pretty big impact, as you can see. And performance is still maintained the entire time. And so I'm going to go ahead and unpause that and let it render. And so remember, this is using the Unreal material inside of Moto. It renders in the actual final renderer, and it also displays properly in the viewport, which is pretty freaking awesome. Now, question, I'm sure, I don't know if it's being asked right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is how's the performance? Well, the performance is pretty freaking sick, actually. And so I can even leave my preview renderer, full ray tracing running. And let's go ahead and bring this on down. I want to take a look at my shadow catcher.
Not a lot of questions, but we're getting a lot of, whoa, very nice, fancy pants, sexy, exciting.
Sexy,
awesome,
exciting.
sweet.
And by the way, guys, we're in this webinar, we are scratching the surface. There is more to show here. And so let's go ahead and come on over into our camera view. And so looking through the camera view, dude, how nuts is that? I mean, that's insane. And look at this. By the way, I've got a shadow catcher in here. Shadow catchers are basically transparent geometry that will capture a shadow inside of Moto's renderer. It works in the GL viewport. And I mean, the accuracy that you get between render to actual viewport is just freaking nuts. And you can see the performance was really quite good. But now let's go ahead and be a little bit more abusive, right? And I like to really add a lot of stuff to my scene and make sure you guys know how practical this really is. Now, we probably don't want that rendering while we do this, but let's go ahead and create some new geometry. And so let's go ahead and come over to the model tab. Look how nice and easy it is to access all that stuff. Makes my life so much easier. And so I created a new piece of geometry there. I'll go ahead and scale this on down, and this way I'll at least be able to show you guys the effect of all this stuff. Alright, and we'll go ahead and make that a sub D mesh and subdivide that a few times. And I'm going to make a new material. It's off screen, and we're going to name this material 2 or whatever. Come over to the shader tree. Let's add the Unreal material. And so custom materials, Unreal. By the way, you see that? Unity material. I don't have a scene set up for you guys to see that just yet, but we'll have that at a later point in time, of course. So I can go ahead and come in here and be like, you know what? I want to change my base color. I want my roughness to be pretty low, and so we'll go ahead and set that down to 0. And let's throw our metallic all the way up, and so there we go. Nice metallic sphere, right? And let's go ahead and play around with the roughness. Very good. And specular doesn't have that much of an effect once we have that high of metallic. And again, we could just go ahead and start moving this object around, right? And you know what? I really want to abuse this. And so let's go ahead and come over to our brush settings, push brush, and let's turn multi-res on and increase the levels a couple levels. And let's go ahead and sculpt. And so I'm sculpting on an object that has an Unreal material, and it's actually updating, with full blurry reflections on top. Now, this isn't the end of the viewport enhancements. I still have more to show you. If I come on over here, as you can see, we have options for anti-aliasing, which definitely can be a bit taxing, but it's really useful for previews. I typically have it off, but you can go all the way up to 9x anti-aliasing. You can see what a good job it does, and I've actually been impressed at how much the performance has improved on that. You see on this mesh, it's very practical still. But let's go ahead and do something really crazy. Screen space reflections. By the way, this is on by default. I turned all this stuff on. You won't have to go through and turn it all on. It's configured to be on by default. But you can see something here. Look, I can see on that gun the reflection of this sphere. And so let's go ahead and do I have the right object selected? There we go. As I move this object closer, you can see it affecting shadows and reflecting. And I remember when we were talking about this feature set, somebody in the meeting actually said, like, yeah, how about screen space reflections? Would that be useful? And I just couldn't help but say, like, what, that, huh? Wait, that would be really cool. Is that really doable? Or, And they're like, yeah, sure. And so they added screen space reflections. And right now it's on fast, which fast means it's fast, but more specifically it means it doesn't respond to roughness. And so if I go ahead and I turn on blurry, it definitely slows things down, but this is more of a play blast type of situation, or something you want to quickly really see the way things are behaving. Your screen space reflections of one object to another, will respond to the roughness of your surfaces. And so how frickin' amazingly awesome is that? And so we'll go ahead and turn that off, and turn our anti-aliasing off as well. And so extremely, extremely cool. And finally, just to kind of articulate how well thought out this is, I mean, seriously, if you ever see one of our developers, especially after this, hug them. They may not like that, but they deserve a hug, because what they've done here is just so incredibly freaking awesome. I'm just going to create another sphere. Sorry for all the spheres, guys, but I just want to articulate some simple ideas to you. So another sphere, and let's go ahead and subdivide that a few times and name that Unity, and come on over here into the new Unity material. Let's add a custom material, Unity material, and you can see that we have an actual Unity material here. Now the thing that I really geeked out about with this is, if you think about it, right now I have a Unity material and an Unreal material inside of Modo, inside the viewport all at once. And what I didn't do before was I didn't go ahead and render. And you can see that the Unreal material and the Unity material both render simultaneously inside the full-blown render and the preview render. And all these channels are capable of being baked out. And there's a lot more to go into because, as you saw down here in our game tools section, we have a whole baking section that makes the process of baking crazy easier. All right, so like I said, that is just scratching the surface, like quite literally just scratching the surface as far as some of the new stuff that is coming in the future. This is a technology preview. Yeah, we'll be talking about some more of these over the coming weeks during these during February and stuff, all during the webinars that we put on during then, which are going to be very informal webinars. We'll be showing off more of these features. So definitely pays off to attend the webinars. You get to see stuff before anybody else does. And this video is not being saved on Twitch right now because it will go on our forums immediately afterwards. So you guys saw it first. Stick around for the future ones and we'll show you more of the awesome stuff. And whoever is pausing this video right now and zooming into every single panel, you won't find it all. Ha ha ha.
Nah.
Thanks a lot, guys. Yeah, exactly. Thanks so much, Brandon. I'm so glad I get to share this with you guys because now I get to share my geek. How annoying have I been over the past months, Brandon?
Super freaking annoying.
Yeah.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And I'm like, dude, just what?
Yeah, no, just stuff that I didn't expect to work that works, and I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. This all just works absolutely beautifully. I just love zooming in here. Oh, this is so great. All right, I'm turning off the stream now. Later, guys.
See you guys.